Hello all. In this video, we're going to take a brief look at Netlogo. We'll look at some resources online and we'll examine the basics of the application and what the different parts of it are. This is a lead in to actually looking at programming models in Netlogo, which we will do very soon. I'm going to switch in between looking at the documentation and then switching over to look at a couple of models in Netlogo, so my camera view is going to switch a bit oddly from time to time. All right, so what we have here is a view of the Netlogo documentation page. This is for version 6.4 of Netlogo. They have a beta version of 7 coming out soon, which has a totally new look. So if you are looking at something that looks very different from this, make sure you're checking the version. I think we'll continue to use version 6.4 throughout. So what you can see on this page, there's some information generally about Netlogo that you can read through. On the left are a bunch of different resources that you might want to have. So I encourage you, when you are actually writing your own models in Netlogo, take a look at what is here and make sure that you've gone through these materials. So there's an introduction and a sample model. You will look at that. There are some tutorials. We're also going to work through those. I want to point out a couple of useful pieces under the reference guides. So there is an interface tab guide, which talks about how you can create the interface portion. There is a code tab guide that gives you some good programming advice. There is a programming guide that talks about the different kinds of constructs from a programming perspective. And there is my favorite, the Netlogo dictionary, which lists all of the commands that you can do and what they do with small examples. It's very, very helpful. All right, but for right now, you'll get into these more as you move forward. Right now what I want to do is to show you Netlogo, show you what you can do with it with a couple of the models that come with the system. There are literally hundreds to thousands of models that people have created. A number of those are part of the application, and there are even more that are available on the web. I will note that there is a web-based version of the Netlogo and there is a 3D version. I'm not going to suggest you use either of those. The most useful thing you can do is to use the basic version of Netlogo on your computer. The models are somewhat different in the web version, and the 3D version, depending on your computer, may bog down significantly, and we don't really need it for our purposes. You could always choose to use it for your project. All right, here we can see the basic Netlogo program that you will see when you run it. If you're on the Mac, or if you look at this, it looks a little old school. The fonts are somewhat old Mac fonts. It will probably look different for you if you're on a Windows machine. You should be able to adjust the size and the view. There are menus that let you do various of these things. It doesn't look like much when it's blank. We'll talk about actually adding things to this separately. So what I'm going to do is just go and open a model, and you won't be able to necessarily, I guess it'll pop it up for you. Okay, we're going to start with one of the earliest models that I ever looked at, the basic ant model. So you notice that now it has actually adjusted our view. We have some slider bars that we can adjust. There's a graph that will be created, and we have the world over here on the right. So the big black space, this is where our simulation takes place. In the simulation, there are turtles. This is based on turtle graphics. So if any of you remember that fondly from earlier in your life, this is based on turtle graphics. We have turtles, and they move around in this environment, and they interact with patches and other turtles that are in the environment. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like as we start this up. I'm going to click the Setup button. And what this has done is, this is a simulation of an ant colony. So in the middle, in the purple shape, that's the actual ant colony. You can't really tell, but this red dot in the middle is a whole lot of individual ants in the ant colony. And once I click the go button, they will go out and start doing their behaviors. So the ants in this case wander randomly until they find a food source, and then they return directly to the ant hill, leaving behind a pheromone trail that says, I have found food. Other ants, upon encountering that pheromone trail, back trail up it to find the food source. And so it turns out to be an extremely effective way for an ant colony to feed itself. So we have control over the population size. We have control over the pheromone trail that gets created. I'm just going to hit the go button and we'll show you what happens. So here go our ants. They're wandering. And the green and white patterns that you see, those are the diffusion trails. And what happens is with the closer food sources, each ant that finds that trail reinforces it as it finds food, and the trail will persist until the food source is gone, and then it dissipates. And eventually they will form longer trails to more distant food sources. All right, now they've eaten all the food sources, so now they'll all just wander randomly, and the simulation is essentially done. If you look at the graph here, you can see the amount of food in each of the different 3 food sources that are in the simulation, and it shows over time how they are found. What I've found is no matter what you do, we can change our setup so there are fewer ants. No matter what you do, generally speaking, they will center on the closest food sources first, and then the ones that are further away after that. And they'll completely wipe out close-up food sources. All right, so there they've wiped out that food source, and now what we hope is that more and more will find. This is a very low number of ants, so they may have troubles finding the further distant food sources, having enough ants happen to increase the pheromone trail. Oh, yep, there they go. So now you can see the middle distance food source is diminishing. Some ants are finding the distant one, but not enough to have the food trail consistent. And we'll see if they can actually do it with this many ants. Yeah, so this is a little tricky for them. With this small a number of ants, it's hard for them to sustain that last trail. Anyway, this is a simulation. It's cute. It's visible. A couple things to notice is that this world is torus. So if an ant moves off the right-hand side of the world, they wrap around to the left, and similarly at the top and bottom. It just makes it easier to program their behaviors that way. The sliders let us adjust the simulation. Up here at the top, there are 2 other tabs that are important. The info tab for simulations other people have created. Usually they'll fill in this info tab with information about the simulation, what it's showing, how to use it, questions you might ask if you experiment with it, and so forth. And over here on the right, we have the code tab. So this is the program that's actually controlling the simulation. It's a different programming language, one you probably haven't seen before. It's called Logo. This is a particular flavor of it, Netlogo, that's for this program. Each of these little pieces here is a function. You write functions, and then you can connect them to elements in the buttons, for instance, in the world, and control the simulation. What I want you to realize is that this is a relatively short simulation. There's not a lot here. And that's all we need because the Netlogo provides so much of the support for the environment side of things. We only need to focus on the behavior of the agents within the environment, which is great for us. All right, we're going to look at a different simulation. There are a lot of biology simulations. So we'll see. Look at this rabbits, grass, and weeds simulation. So we have weeds that grow and grass that grows, and I think the weeds are not good for the rabbits. But this is a basic rabbit and food simulation. What we want from this is that it matches what people have studied in terms of food availability and population, is that increase and decrease in relationship to each other. I can also change this so that we get weeds. Those are the purple spots, and I believe those are not edible by the bunny rabbits. So it reduces their food source. And the more food I make, the lower the rabbit population will be, which you can see happening over here in the graph. The rabbit population is diminishing. So again, it's a simple simulation. If you look at the code, again, it's not even it's even shorter than before. It's really easy to make a complex simulation with lots of agents that are interacting with their environments with Netlogo. I'm going to show you one just to show you there are a lot of different ones. There used to be some games in here. I don't know if that still is even there. There were some. There was like a version of Frogger implemented in this. I want to take a look at Earth science here. We're going to look at Grand Canyon. I love this. This is a beautiful simulation. It has a background picture. And then what it's showing is the way in which rain moves through an environment to carve out something like the Grand Canyon. So I'll set it up, and then I'm going to let it go. And you can see raindrops falling. They travel downhill, and as they travel, they take a little bit of the land with them, and over time, different paths develop and turn into gorges and canyons and things like that. So again, this is a totally different kind of simulation. It's a little bit bigger than the one before. You can see because I'm kind of getting squeezed out here in the corner. But you can use this kind of system to simulate all kinds of different phenomena. But really what this is, each of the little blue dots is an agent, and those agents are interacting with the world underneath, which are patches. Those are also agents. And again, we write some relatively simple code to control these agents. All right, so I just wanted you to see what Netlogo looks like to get a sense of what the resources are. You should be looking at the documentation and maybe playing around with Netlogo yourself. Install it on your own computer. Bring it and we'll take a look at building our own simulations in future videos. I will see you soon.